What's up, y'all? This is Dr. Jewyl, and I just have one thing to say.
It's time to get right.
It's time to get your mind right. Look, this is Dr. Jewyl, and I am so excited to introduce to you my new show called Ask Dr. Jewyl. It's awesome, man. I'm going to be partnering with Yes Lord Radio, a cutting-edge gospel radio ministry with such a huge heart for people. Look, we're going to get down and dirty. We're going to talk about mental health, mental wellness, and mental illness. And I'm so excited to bring this to the church. So you all, who am I? I am so glad you asked. Look, first and foremost, let's just get this off the table. I am a child of God. That's my identity. But as far as my credentials, you all, let me tell you what I bring in my tool chest. I'm a doctor of nursing practice. I have a master's degree in nursing. I have a bachelor's in nursing. I have a bachelor's in biology. I'm a family nurse practitioner board certified, and I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner board certified. So what I want to do, I want to bring all of those tools to the table, because you know what, church? Your feelings matter, your hurt matters, your trauma matters, your mental health matters. And so we're going to talk about it. So look, you can trust me. I'm going to be in the trenches with you all. We're going to talk about a little bit of everything. But the goal, we got to get our minds right. So you all, if you don't learn anything else, I need you to know one thing, and that is this. It's okay not to be okay. All right, I want you to press pause on that. It is okay not to be okay. Look, the only thing more exhausting than having a mental illness or not being mentally well is pretending like you don't. Okay? Denial, we've got to leave denial. And you know what, you all? I want you to know that you are not alone when it comes to mental illness, okay? You're not alone. So let me give you some facts. I'm going to cite some facts from the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and I want to cite those facts because I want you to know why you're not alone. So if you get these numbers, maybe it can allow you to rest and say, you know what, somebody else out there is experiencing some illness as well, all right? And so look, 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. All right? 20% of adults experience mental illness each year. So you got to know, honey, you are not alone. 1 in 20 adults experience serious mental illness each year. And you all, I want you to know, I just cited adults, but let's go to the kids. Let's go to the youth. 1 in 6 youth age 6, these are babies, y'all, to 17, experience a mental health disorder each year. All right. They are coming to my office. Our kids, you all, 6 years old, don't want to live. Okay. Our teens don't want to live. They are having anxiety. They are stressed. You all, social media is wrecking our kids. All right. What's going on? Why are they so stressed? Why do they have anxiety? You know why? Because they have Instagram posts at schools rating you as a person, whether or not you're a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. They have so many things out there, and our kids are having to deal with the pressure, their image, all of those things, and people critiquing them and them not wanting to live or exist because of someone else's critique. You all, it's bad out here. 50% of all lifetime mental illnesses begin before the age of 14. Pause on that one. Okay? By the age of 14, 50% of all lifetime mental illnesses began. So you know what that means? We got to start checking our kids, you all. Okay, because by 14, 50% of them, if they're going to have a mental illness, it's going to start right around there. Okay. And 75% of them by the age of 24 will have a presenting mental illness if they're going to have one. Look, suicide is the second leading cause of death among people age 10 to 14. I'm going to say it again. The second leading cause of death in people age 10 to 14. Look, you are not alone. This thing is real. So we have got to talk about mental illness, we've got to talk about it. So, what does that mean? You say, Dr. Jewyl, where do we go from here? You've given me the stats. Where do we go from here? Well, first of all, we've got to recognize that it's there. Look, you can't fight something that you don't believe exists. So we're a part of the church, and we've been taught sometimes that, mental illness was a little bit lower on the top. We really didn't deal with it because let's even bring in cultural relevance. Let's just deal with that. As an African American, I can only deal with my vantage point, but therapy, a psychiatrist, that wasn't on my radar. I mean, I was raised by a mother who was divorced, okay? It was just us. And so the option to get mental health, wellness, all of these terms that we're using now, that was not even on the table. We were dealing with basic needs, food, shelter, clothing. I was taught to endure, okay? I wasn't taught about your feelings, your emotions, man. And depending on, your age group, when you're dealing with my grandparents, you didn't talk about your feelings or your emotions and that type of thing. You were told to be smart. Look, don't speak. You better not talk back. Your feelings, emotions, you just better grin and bear it. And depending, our culture, we couldn't talk back to people. We felt, we've always been under oppression. But the thing is that, we couldn't express it. We couldn't openly say, we're hurt, we're stressed. We had to grin and bear it if we wanted to eat, if we wanted to live, if we wanted to survive. So what do we have? We had a whole generation of people that were taught to bear, to endure, to take it, and to make it, to hide your feelings, that, you just press through them. So we looked at that endurance as that's something that we needed to model. So, you come to my age group and we were taught you go to work every day, you go to school, you do these things. We weren't taught about some of the other things that we had to deal with, racism, all of the other adversities that we had to deal with as we quote unquote entered into the workplace, as we acquired these degrees, that you could have all of the degrees in the world. They still wouldn't call you, people wouldn't call you according to your credentials. So, every culture, every ethnicity experiences different things, okay? Look, life for everyone, no matter who you are, may not be a crystal stair, honey. It doesn't really matter what your ethnicity is, but we cannot discount the fact that there are a lot of experiences that are unique to certain ethnicities that bring about mental illness or helps to facilitate that group not being as mentally well, okay? So I want to bring this to the church a little bit because the thing is this. The church, as far as African Americans, that was our place of refuge. That was our place of strength, and it continues to be. So what we have to do, we have to take that place of refuge and strength and realize that we also have to incorporate not just the spiritual, but we also have to deal with the mental, emotional, and physical needs of people. That's what Ask Dr. Jewyl is all about. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the fact that, you know what? No matter, you can love God and still be depressed. You can love God and still have anxiety. You can love God and still be bipolar and have schizophrenia. The same way you can love God and have diabetes, have hypothyroidism, have cancer. You can still have God, but we are broken, fallen people. Look, we are dying daily, okay? Hopefully you're dying to your flesh, you want to deal spiritual, but physically, we are not perfect people, so things don't function properly. Look, one thing that I've done in my past, I've taught pathophysiology, the study of sickness and disease, okay? And my students, they loved pathophysiology. They always would come to class and say, Dr. Jewyl, we want to know what a diseased liver is like. We want to see some hardened arteries. They like that because you know what? The study of disease and them diagnosing and learning that content I called it was sexy to them, okay? They really thrived on that. But you know what I used to tell them? Hold on 1 minute, okay? Hold on, because the only way that you're going to be able to identify what's wrong is if you know what's right. Okay? You gotta know how things properly function. So when they don't function correctly, you know, wait 1 minute, something is wrong here. It's the same thing with mental health and wellness. You've got to know what's mentally well. So when things go sideways, when you start seeing people emotionally fragile, breaking down, not being able to handle change, not being able to handle their emotions effectively, popping off at meetings, mad, angry, frustrated, depressed, can't get out of the bed, can't keep a relationship, going back and forth, trying everybody else is wrong and they are right. Honey, that's not normal. And we have to realize that a part of mental health and wellness is being able to realize a person that is well is able to handle certain things, okay, with a certain level of resiliency. They're like a rubber band, they pop back, okay? But if you're not mentally well, you can't do that. It takes you a longer time to do that. Look, everybody in life is going to suffer some mental. You're not going to be mentally well, honey. It just is what it is. That's called life. There are things that are going to hit you in life that's going to cause you to cry, break, feel like you don't want to get back up again, okay? That is a part of life. Nobody can shield you from that. Like, we can't shield you from COVID, the common cold, the flu. We can't shield you from that, okay? It's going to happen. That's a part of life. But guess what? It's a treatment for it. That's what I want you to know. There is a treatment for it. The same thing with mental wellness, mental illness. Look, there are things that we can do to stay mentally well. Just like we take vitamins, we exercise, watch our diet to stay physically well, there are things that you need to do to stay mentally well, okay? Mentally resilient. And we need to talk about those things so that you can arm yourself, put them in your tool chest so that you can execute them, so that you can be resilient. You can think the way you need to think, react the way you need to react, handle situations, be emotionally intelligent. That's what we need to talk about, because you know what? That's going to be the best you. That's going to be the best version of you. Honey, look, you can be decorated, beautiful, look wonderful on the exterior and be messed up in the mind. And you know what? You will not accomplish those things that God has for you. You will not. It will be so difficult for you to accomplish them. So we've got to talk about them, y'all. And that's what Ask Dr. Jewyl is all about. So look, stay tuned. We're getting ready to go to my next segment. You're going to love it. All right, so stay tuned. Stick with me. What's up, y'all? I am so glad you're back to the next part of the show. And this is the part of the show that I love probably the most. And this is the ADJ letter, Ask Dr. Jewyl letter. And this is where I get to interact with you. And so what you do, you send me an email. I'm going to give you my email address. And this is where I answer all of your questions, all of your concerns. If you have a testimony and something you want to share about mental health, wellness, illness, whatever you want to share, this is where we do it. We do it on this part of the show. So I have my absolute first letter and my friend, because this is going to be Ask Dr. Jewyl, and I'm going to have a whole lot of friends here that to pour into you to talk about mental health and wellness in their area of specialty, whether it's their lived experience, that means you've been through something, honey, or whether or not it's educational experience, whether you're a therapist, psychologist. I'm going to have a bunch of friends on here, and if you're one of those and you want to be on the show, you send me an email, because you can be on this show, because it's all about us learning from one another, okay? Healed people help to heal people. So I want you to be healed, healing healers, okay? Healed, healing healers. All right. So look, my friend, come on.
Hey, Dr. Jewyl, how are you?
I'm doing good, Lady V.
Oh, my goodness. It's such an honor and a pleasure to be with you and Ask Dr. Jewyl. I'm so excited.
Well, I am so glad to have you. And so I know you've been kind of looking over this letter.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us who wants to know something? Like, what do they want to know? Because I'm excited, man.
Listen, we're excited.
All
okay.
Right.
So here we go.
Okay.
Dear Dr. Jewyl, I hear everyone using terms like self-care, mental health, mental illness. I mean, what's the difference between mental health and mental illness anyway? Who should I listen to? Who should I believe when it comes to mental wellness?
Oh, my.
Signed, Concerned and Confused.
Oh, my goodness.
This is a good one.
Oh,
Dr.
that's
J.
a great one.
Oh, my
Concerned and
goodness.
confused. Thank you so much for sharing that question with us. That's a loaded question, honey. You got about 4 questions in there.
We do.
So you know what? We're going to take the time and answer every last one of them because that's what we do here at ADJ. So, all right. So let's go over self-care. So you hear everybody you all talking about self-care. I'm into my self-care. Now, let me just throw this out here. I'm not throwing any shade on anybody that talks about self-care, honey. What you do to care for yourself, and I'm going to talk about the definition of it. But what I'm hearing about self-care is just people using this term to quote unquote indulge themselves. Okay. So I'm into self-care. So I'm going to do what I want to do. Yeah. I'm getting my nails done. I'm getting my hair done. I'm getting whatever, I'm taking care of me. I'm doing me, I'm preserving me, whatever it is. Okay. And what I'm saying is that wherein I love you caring for yourself, nurturing yourself, I don't want to minimize self-care to just those exterior types, just those very superficial types of things. Because, honey, you can be decorated, nails done, hair done, everything done. You can have all of that and still be mentally not well, okay?
Right.
Emotionally sick, okay? And so you just highly decorated. So when we're dealing with self-care, basically self-care is taking the time to do things to improve your physical, mental health, your physical and mental health. It's being intentional, okay? Self-care is about being intentional about taking care of you. It's prioritizing yourself, your mental health, your physical well-being. It's the practice of just, preserving those things about you that are important. For example, your physical health is important. So part of self-care is saying, what do I do? What are some of the things that I need to do to preserve physical health? Do I need to eat better? Do I need to sleep longer? Do I need to, exercise? Do I need to minimize what I eat, cut down on this, eat more of this? So it's, what am I doing physically to help myself, and being intentional about that? That's self-care, saying I'm not going to let anything come in the way of stopping me and blocking me from doing those things that I know are important for me to not only just survive, but to thrive and to be the healthiest me. Now, when you start dealing with mental, self-care, when you start talking about that, and that's what I want to lean into, self-care there is saying that, hey, what do I need to do to protect my happiness, my peace of mind? What do I need to do to preserve, my feelings? What do I need to do to preserve my thought process? What do I need to do to preserve myself from being injured, from being hurt, from being traumatized, okay? And so self-care is putting up healthy boundaries to say, you know what? My mind matters. My mental, my emotional stability matters. So I'm going to put some things in place to protect that. So self-care is that, you know what? In order to protect me, I can't do you. In order to protect me, there are some things that I can't indulge in, some conversations that I don't even need to have. There's, in order to protect me, I need to get out of this abusive relationship. In order to protect me, I need to get out of this particular job because my boss is not mentally or emotionally intelligent. So what am I saying? I just say all that to say that there are so many things that we're going to talk about on this show to help you with self-care so that it's looked at holistically and not just one particular thing, and that is your aesthetics, how you look. Okay. So I just want to talk about that a little bit more. Thank you for asking me that.
No problem. And just to throw a little tidbit in there really quick, just says to just, be aware of those things sent to destroy your peace. So think about that. Let that marinate. So part B of the question is asking, what is the difference between mental health and mental illness?
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you asked that, because what's happening, Lady V, is that so many people, and who's my friend, confused and concerned?
Yes.
Look, a lot of people are using those terms interchangeably, okay? Mental health, mental wellness, mental illness, mental disorder, all of those words are kind of coming together and jumbling up, okay? So, like I told you before in the segment of, a few minutes ago, that a lot of my students, when I was teaching a class of pathophysiology, they wanted to know what was disease. Okay, what does a disease artery look like? What does a disease heart, liver look like? And they just love that, okay? But one thing you need to know is what is healthy. So let's talk about what mental health is, okay? So mental health is basically your emotional, psychological, and social well-being, okay? It's how you think, how you feel, and how you act and respond. It's who you associate with. It's developing meaningful relationships. So, mental health is basically, so I want to put some things in there because all of us throughout our lives until we go on the other side of the dirt, okay, all of us can improve in our mental health. It is a constant pursuit, or it should be, okay? All of us can grow in the area of mental health. You may say, Dr. Jewyl, okay, come on, tell me what mental health is. Well, mental health is, how do you handle stress? Ooh.
Yes, that's a good one, Doc.
Okay. Mental health is, how do you make decisions? How do you respond to adversity? Mental health is, how do you make choices? Okay. Oh,
That's a good one.
mental health is, who do you associate with? Who do you allow? Who are your friends? Who are the people that you allow in your inner circle? Who do you hang with? Who do you kick it with? That's a part of being mentally healthy, okay? What does that look like? Are you a loner? And there's nothing wrong with being a loner, but the thing is that, are you a loner because you can't cope with people? Mental health is your ability to be able to handle change. Okay, so when life changes, if something happens in your world, being mentally healthy is being able to adapt. It's being able to bounce back. It's being able to look at situations appropriately. Being mentally healthy is being able to make moves and not let your feelings or emotions stop you from doing things that are in your best interest, or from you accomplishing those things in which you need to accomplish. Being mentally healthy is being clear. It's having clarity. It's being able to see things. It's being able to feel things, being able to communicate effectively about how you feel, what you want, how someone made you feel. It's about being able to clearly communicate how you're thinking about something. It's being able to have healthy dialogue with people. And it may not be that you're on the same page, but it's being able to hear a different point of view and not feel like it's someone against you or assaulting you or attacking you. Being mentally well is just being able to interpret those things in a way. Whatever someone says, whatever someone does, is being able to interpret what they do correctly. So in summary, just being mentally healthy is being able to maneuver every facet of life, all of the changes, the complexities of life in a way that facilitates social, emotional, and psychological wholeness. Okay. And so that's a whole lot, but we're going to talk about that every episode of Ask Dr. Jewyl. So we're going to get more into that. Okay. So I hope that is helpful. Now, I know that the next thing we were going to talk about is mental illness, because again, you've got to know what's normal. All right. So now we've got to talk about mental illness. And so mental illness is any diagnosable condition that affects your personality, okay, and oftentimes and your behaviors. Let me not leave that out, okay? So that's what mental illness is any diagnosable condition that affects your personality, your thoughts, your mood, your behavior, okay, to the point that it compromises your quality of life, okay? Your ability to maneuver life, community, people that you interact with. And so that is a mental illness. So you may say, well, Dr. Joel, how do I get a mental illness? Like, where does that come from? So we have this book called the DSM-5, and that's like the Bible of mental illness. It has every mental illness in that book. And so what we do as psychiatric providers, we interview you, and then we kind of get your story, and we kind of use different tools, different questionnaires where we can kind of come to a conclusion about what you actually may have. It's no different than I'm also a family nurse practitioner. It's no different when I'm in a clinic and seeing a patient and I'm running your labs and I come back and say to you, you know what, your cholesterol is high, or your blood sugar is high. Okay. It's no different. Over in mental health, we don't have a lab, okay, that we take. What we do is we interview. And based on the interview and what you tell us about yourself, or if you bring someone with you, which is always good, to help to give us information about who you are and what your issues are, okay, whether it's with your behavior, your personality, your ability, not to be able to think appropriately or remember things, or whatever it is. We take you through a whole lot of screening. And then what we do is we come up with a diagnosis and we assign that to you. And then we recommend treatments as a result of what we find when we interview you. Okay. And so that would be a mental illness. And so we'll talk more in depth about mental illnesses on Ask Dr. Jewyl, because we're going to talk about, I'm going to go through that book if I can, okay, and talk to you about it. All right. So that is what mental illness is. And there's a difference. The only thing that I want you to know, and a takeaway, is that just because you don't have a diagnosable mental illness does not mean that you're mentally well. Okay. I need you to understand that. Just because I can't diagnose you with something and put a name on it does not mean that you are mentally well. Okay. You don't have to have depression, but you can be very low. You can be very sad. Okay. You can lack motivation. All right. I may not be able to give you an illness, but that does not mean that that's healthy. Okay. And so there are several things. You don't think that just because we're talking about this, that you have to have a mental illness. Okay. If you're not processing correctly, if you're not able to achieve or accomplish your goals, if you're not able to move from point A to point B, there is a problem. You may not be mentally well. So we need to talk about it. And that's what Ask Dr. Jewyl is all about. Okay. So to sum it up, I wanted to let you know that, there are providers, there are people that can help you with your mental health and wellness, okay? So psychiatrists and psychiatric practitioners, they are the ones that can assess, diagnose, and treat you for mental illness. They can also do therapy. So they can do both. They can prescribe medications and do therapy. Then you have your licensed clinical social workers. You have your professional mental health, workers. And so you have different people, psychologists, all right, that are part of the equation. They can talk to you about different therapies, run different tests, learn about different learning disabilities. So your psychologist will do that. And then again, you have your social workers and your counselors who can specifically deal with therapy. So once we give you a diagnosis, then they can deal with a specific therapy that will assist you. Also, even if you don't have a mental illness, you can go to a therapist because they can see your blind spots and help you to maneuver life successfully if you are having a little hang up in different areas of your life. So I hope all of that was very, very helpful. And so I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in to Ask Dr. Jewyl on Yes Lord Radio. I am so grateful for this platform and opportunity. The next show, we are going to talk about SAD, seasonal affective disorder. And that is a type of depression that comes during certain times of the year. And this is usually the time. So we're going to talk about it, okay? And I'm so excited that we'll be able to address that, talk about it, talk about how you can get help for for it so that you can maneuver. If you have SAD, you can know what it is, identify it, and then get treatment for it, okay? So look, if you have any questions, concerns, if you want to add to this discussion, please send an email to Ask Dr. Jewyl. That's Ask, DRJEWYL @gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. So look, have a beautiful, blessed, and productive week. And I look forward to having you join us back here at Ask Dr. Jewyl. Take care. Be mentally, emotionally well.
It's time to